Hey guys, Josh the Retro Gamer here. So today I'm going to take you through some arcade sticks. Now some of these let's see, one of them I forgot I had whenever I was unpacking. I found it. Another one of these I picked up not too long ago and I wanted to show you and talk about it. But mainly I just wanted to cover a lot of these. I have these kind of arcade sticks for a lot of my different systems, and most of these were third party. There were a few of these that were made by the manufacturer, the console itself, like Nintendo actually made it, or whatever. They're specific to the first party, but most of them are third party tools. So I wanted to take you on a little tour here and just show you kind of what we've got. Maybe some of them you've seen before, maybe some you've never seen before. Either way, I felt like it might be a nice little journey. So let's check it out and see what we got here. So first I'm going to start off with this one back here in the back, because it's probably the oldest one. So if you look at it, you might be able to tell right off the bat, oh hey, that's an Atari. That's an Atari 2600. Yeah, actually all this is an Atari 2600 controller, but this company, Stick Stand is what they called it, basically came out with this. I think it still said patent pending. It says made in the USA here and then patent pending. But basically what they did was came out with a stand that you could put your Atari controller into, which I might not even be able to get out now. Let's see. Yeah, it's in there pretty good. But anyway, it just sets into the stand there. And then it came with these little balls shipped with it as well that you could put on top. So you had like a little arcade stick and you could sit it on a table or in your lap and play it. I found this at a thrift store actually, and I wasn't sure what it was at first, and then I realized that, hey, I think that goes with like an Atari controller. And sure enough, like that's what it is. And I found a couple of them online. I see them every once in a while, but I would have never even known to look for that thing. But I kind of like it. Actually, the ball makes it a lot easier to control the stick, and I actually kind of really enjoy it. So moving on, let's go up to one that I'm sure you guys are very familiar with, and it's the NES Advantage. So this was actually put out by Nintendo, and I'm going to go ahead and let me take the cable off here so you can see a little bit better. It's got a nice long cable, and it plugs into both controller ports there on your NES. And then, I mean, it's solid. This is very heavy. It's got a metal plating on the bottom, like it's very weighty. The stick itself is very loose. It feels very nice. You got your turbo controls, your turbo buttons, giant B and A buttons. You can select your 1 or 2 player. If you're playing with somebody else, select start slow. You can click that in there too. These are great sticks. I really enjoy it. I've played a few games with these. It's a nice change of pace from the control pad. And there are some games, like some of those arcade games, that you can do with this. Like I've played Donkey Kong on the NES with this, and it's a lot of fun because it feels kind of like a real arcade experience to some extent. So, and it's pretty responsive. I've noticed it does have a little bit of issue here and there, but for the most part, it's not been too bad. Another one I want to talk to you guys about is this one. So this is a turbo stick. So this was came out for the TG16, the TurboGrafx 16 in the States, and you can see right here, TurboGrafx 16. This is a first-party controller. NEC put this out, and it's even got their name stamped there on the back. It's plastic. It's not very heavy. It's kind of easy to move, but I will say this stick right here is one of the best control sticks that I've ever felt. It is very responsive, works really well. I use this stick all the time to play shooters and play some other games. It's hard to play this with some of the platformers on the TurboGrafx, but the TurboGrafx, as you know, was known for a lot of good shooters, and this is great to play. The other bonus to this is the cable. It's like a 4 or 5 foot cable, which is really awesome. If you know anything about the TurboGrafx, it has like the cable has like a 1.5 foot length on the controller pad. So it's nice to have that huge long length as well, just to make it easier to play the games. But you got your turbo sliders up here, your buttons, your turbo, select, run, slow there. Really responsive. So it's not clicky like you'd see in a NeoGeo controller, but it's very responsive, and it just feels right. The stick feels right. So I highly recommend one of these. They go for about $50 now, I think, loose. I think it's well worth it for the long cable and the good stick. So I'd highly recommend picking one of those up. If you have a TurboGrafx 16 and want a better controller for it, or just want to take a chance on it. Speaking of NeoGeo, let's go ahead and jump into that one. So right here, is your NeoGeo stick. Some of you guys may have seen this. Goes with the AES. Pretty big size, large size. If you control with the Advantage, you can see it's kind of, it's a good size, chunkier than the Advantage there. The good thing about this one, you got the clicky. Here's the clicky. The clicky joystick, again, a really great joystick with your big buttons there. Great for fighting games. You sit this in your lap, play some games with it. Really, any of the AES games, I enjoy playing on this. They did have the smaller control pad, which came out with the CD system, which was more like a handheld pad. But I love the big arcade stick here. Pretty classic and still really well designed. So moving on from there, this one actually is a third-party one, and it was meant to be made for a Genesis, actually, a fighter stick for the Genesis, I'm pretty sure. But this one has been modified, and you can see the cable connector there. Looks like, oh, that would go into a Genesis or Atari or something. Well, this one actually has been modified to play with a Vectrex. So the Vectrex takes a similar kind of pin connector, but it's wired a little bit differently. And there's people that online have made controllers for the Vectrex using control sticks like this, so that way you don't have to use the little built-in Vectrex controller. You can see there's plenty of buttons there to make up the Vectrex controller, as well as that. And I could actually, let's see if I can grab my Vectrex controller real quick, and I'll just show you a quick difference between the two of them. Because the Vectrex controller is really nice, and it's really well done. I think for the system, and it's built into the system, like it's a little piece that covers in the system there. But you can see you've got a good control stick here. It's pretty good. You got your connector there, and then your 4 buttons. And this control stick is actually really good for the Vectrex. But I like that the community has kind of come around and found some systems like this and turned these into great Vectrex controllers. I have used ones like this for the Genesis. It works great for the Genesis as well, but just so you guys are aware that that's even out there. So next up, I got the Sega Saturn here. So this controller was a first-party Sega controller for the Saturn. You can see the connector there. Huge, very large system. You can see it's bigger than the NeoGeo controller there, just by a little bit. Huge control stick. This one I haven't played with a ton yet, so I can't tell you how great a quality it is. It doesn't have the clicky, but it does feel responsive like the turbo stick did. So I imagine it's probably not too bad, and the fact that it's first party kind of gives me some hope. Again, it's got the metal backing, pretty weighty, pretty hefty. This one's probably the heaviest of any of the ones that we've looked at yet, and it might even be close to the next one, but it's pretty hefty. It's a great control stick, so another alternative for a controller there for your Sega Saturn. So lastly, I wanted to talk about this guy. So this is for the Super Nintendo, and after picking this one up, this one is heavier, or Super Nintendo, sorry, the Nintendo 64. This one is heavier than the Saturn. So I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but it's called an Arcade Shark is what they call it. It's from Interact, who did a lot of third-party stuff for Nintendo. And this thing is just a beast. It's got a metal bottom there. Let me turn it around so it looks right on the camera there. It's just chunky. This thing is one humongous thing. And I've discovered something interesting with that too that I'll show you guys here in just a second. But supposedly these 2 sticks here, you can unscrew this and move it to which one of these you want to do. This is supposed to be a digital control stick, and this is an analog control stick. Then you got your buttons and all that like normal here. They put your L and R buttons up here. You got your Z button there, your A and B, and then all your C sticks. So basically all the buttons on the controller are all up front, and you basically set this thing in your lap, and I'm actually having trouble holding it. Like you can see, it dwarfs the NeoGeo. It even is bigger over here than the Sega Saturn one. It completely dwarfs the NES Advantage. This thing is just massive. I can't even quite show you how huge it is. I found one actually the other day. I found one in the box too at a local secondhand store. They had it in the box, and so I'm going to show you guys kind of what it looks like coming out of the box. There's not much to it. It's pretty much just the stick, and then you've got the little screw-on knob piece there. And I did actually play with it, and I'm going to tell you what I found in playing with it, because it seems to be kind of your mileage may vary. Let's put it that way. So here we go. Let me grab out the control stick here. So this was in there. You can see on the cord some foam remnants from it getting hot and cold and inside the box, inside the foam. And see, it comes with a little screw there, and you can screw it into whichever side you want. You're like, oh, I want it over here, and the digital stick, you just put it on there, and then you can play it that way. So it also will take your memory packs. If you see up here, it'll take your memory packs, and I think you can plug in even like rumble pack and stuff if you wanted to. You got your auto, slow, big start button down here. Again, so you can see your buttons there. Huge long cord, which is really kind of nice. I don't know, probably a 3.5 foot, 4 foot cord, so pretty good size. So what I wanted to show you that's interesting is the bottoms of both of these controllers. So these are both the same ones, but one's been tinkered with, and I don't know if someone has modded it themselves or if it was just a factory thing. But if you notice, one of them has the cutout there, like most N64 controllers, and the other one is just completely rounded. So something I found, the one that has this cutout actually worked way better than the one that didn't. So this one, when I plugged it up, and this was the one that was in the box, it had a lot of issues registering which direction I was going. Whenever I was pressing the A button for gas in Mario Kart, it was like turning me too. However, this one with this controller plug worked really well, actually. Better, I think, than the original controller to some extent. And I had this one also on the analog control. When I had it on the digital, it didn't respond very well. But on the analog here, I mean, it moved really well and really nicely. And I was able to play, it was kind of fun playing Mario Kart with, like, drifting with these buttons and shooting with this button. Like, I just had my hand like this, and I was just doing this while I was steering. So it actually was kind of fun. So I don't know if somebody has tinkered with it or what, because if you could see on the back here too, on this one, there used to be a pad right here covering this screw, and you need to take all these screws out to get to it. I don't know if there are screws underneath these pads or not, but I noticed that pad was gone. But on the new one that was out of the box, it had issues. The pad was there, and it looked like it hadn't been tampered with. So I might have to just kind of open that up and see what I can find out. And there goes the box. Oop, there we go. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. I just wanted to cover some of the joysticks options that you have for multiple systems and different controller types, and I just think that's really kind of neat. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Is there a specific controller pad that you really like? An analog stick or whatever that you prefer for a specific system. I don't have one at all for the Super Nintendo. I know there's a couple different third-party and maybe even first-party ones out there for the Super Nintendo, and I'm kind of shocked that I don't have one, considering I have one for just about every other system that I have. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think the best system sticks are out there. One of the other ones I know is good for the NeoGeo is the Hori. There's a Hori third-party one that a lot of people seem to like as well for the AES. It's a little bit more chunky, and I thought about getting one of those one day, but they're pretty pricey, so we'll see. But anyway, thanks again. Like, subscribe, let me know what you think, and catch you guys next time.